really difficult. There was a lot of fighting going on a lot of the time, a lot of drug use, a lot of group sex parties that were going on constantly on the weekends, and just a general abusive kind of environment for these women that lived there and for me.
And
Oh,
so let me interrupt for 1 second. So
sure.
there were group sex parties in the house and on tour, like on the bus or
In the house for sure. On tour was a little different because obviously the entire band and crew were sharing the bus or the RV, depending which tour you're talking about. But so there were parties that went on in the hotel rooms and things. There was only once on tour that I was around for anything like that, I guess I should say. So I don't necessarily know the extent of like what was going on all the time because I tried to keep myself separated from a lot of that stuff for the most part.
is there anything that you know of for sure that you can state from your firsthand knowledge of anybody that got involved in these sex parties, in these orgy type ordeals, that were sort of invited to come in or maybe even offered to come in through payment? In other words, did people...
No, I never saw any kind of transactions like that going on or witnessed anything like that.
Okay. And I'm assuming at some point he has a son and the son was around at any time. Did you see anything as far as these inappropriate actions when his son was around?
There were definitely parties that happened while his son was in the house. I could definitely tell that they took some care to try to separate him from that world, such as like his girlfriend would sleep in a separate bedroom when his kid was there. So it was sort of meant to be a secret, but they definitely were doing a lot of drugs in the house and having these like group sex parties while the child was in the house.
Before I hammer home the point that you just made about drugs, can we just go back
Mm-hmm.
to... A lot of people don't understand this, or maybe they just don't want to understand it, or maybe they don't think they heard what they heard. Now, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if you recall this or were told this or if you remember this, but I believe God or Jesus, either or, came down, asked Corey to, take over some business for him personally. These are his words. And you just said he has a girlfriend, but he's married. And I believe
Right.
that's to Courtney Ann Smith, something like that. The woman that somehow forgets to order her hair dye. You recall the woman, right?
Well, which one are you talking about? They all have their...
Exactly. Exactly. I put no words in her mouth there.
It's
So,
really hard to get your hair done when your husband refuses to actually pay the stylist.
yeah, well, we're going to get to the money troubles. So, the man of God, who's personally been put on this mission from God to do this service for the world, if you will, to save people from
Mm-hmm.
the pedophiles that attacked him or pedophiles that attacked his quote unquote best friend, has a
Mm-hmm.
wife and a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Is the girlfriend like a monopoly
Yeah,
partner?
absolutely.
Is she a monopoly partner, or does she cook with him, or is there are there other things that happen with the quote unquote girlfriend?
Yeah, I mean, she was his girlfriend. And on top of that, they have many different, kind of girlfriends. I mean, I saw it all over the country when we were on tour. He had different women in all kinds of different cities. They have a completely polyamorous relationship.
Uh huh. Now, again, it's cool. Whatever people do in the bedroom, in their relationship, that's fine. If they want to have
Yeah,
20 partners,
totally.
that's fine. But I think what people don't understand is that he's portraying himself. I'm not actually telling you this. I'm telling everybody at home. He's he continues to hammer down everybody's throat that he is living a very, very godlike, a very God-fearing existence, and yet we've just now scratched the surface in the first, what is it, 5 minutes of the interview, that he already has an established wife, a legal wife that he still is married to, and not one girlfriend, but many participants that come into the relationship. And
Yeah.
you know what, Jackie, later on we'll research which Bibles and which religions, um, you know, are pro many, many different girlfriends and living lives of orgies and sex parties and things like that. But for right now, let's get back to the drugs. You mentioned drugs.
Yeah.
I hate to correct you, Jackie. I'm sorry. I know I invited you out here and I'm correcting you, but Corey Feldman, by his own admission, has been free of drugs and any of that nonsense for decades. So, are you telling me something different?
Yeah, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that's not entirely accurate or accurate at all.
You know, I
Yeah, I mean, these people are using drugs on a daily basis and abusing them.
you know, I would personally doubt you, but then I'd have to doubt Margot Lane, who you know, Wade Robertson,
Hmm.
and just about everybody. Well, not just about everybody that has encountered him on a personal level, that has stated for the record that there is drug use, continued drug use. He has never been off drugs. These are not my words. These are the interviews that I've conducted by other people that
Hmm.
have stated this and are willing to give statements to police force or to the police force or authorities. And I believe some of them have actually given statements uh, to
Yeah,
that effect. So, okay. So you're stating now definitely firsthand account. Drug use actually happens. It's there, and there is no denying it. That's just a
no.
simple fact. And okay. And but you did state that there are some concessions made to shield the son from the activities.
Definitely. Yeah, they work to keep the whole polyamorous relationship a secret from his son. And I mean, I never saw him use drugs in front of his son, just, while the kid was in the house. So there definitely were some precautions taken to protect the kid. But I think it seemed to me that the kid kind of knew what was going on.
Your opinion, of course, right?
Sorry?
Oh, I said that. Now that's of course your opinion, right? The son didn't actually have a. I want to cover all the legal basis. His son didn't actually come up to anybody and say, "Wow, my dad's using drugs," right? Just an assumption, correct?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, all right. Just covering the bases, by the way. Now,
Hmm.
accusing a godly man of using drugs, having orgies, having numerous girlfriends in the house with his wife, participating in these sex parties, sounds like something that a God-fearing person would not say. Which leads me to my next point.
Right.
Well, actually, not you, all of us. All of us have been accused of having a satanic cult, being part of the dark side, worshiping the devil. Jackie, have you in any way, shape, or form given yourself to Satan?
I have not.
The devil? Lucifer? Anything of the like?
No.
I see.
I'm most definitely not a Satanist.
I see. Nor am I, for the record. By the way, I don't think I've ever actually come out and publicly stated that. And I think every member of the quote unquote Wolfpack, just by the way, no one I have met, talked to, has ever confess to me that they are Satanists, devil worshippers, whatever. And I certainly, I'm stating it right now for the record. I actually, for the record, I don't even believe in Satan or the devil, that either exist, by the way. All right, so
Yeah.
that is cleared up. Jackie, you are not part of the dark side. You are not a Satan worshiper. In no way, shape, or form are you using voodoo magic or drinking
Wow.
fetus blood or anything like that. And I know it sounds absurd for me to kind of hammer this home to you, but these are things, and I know you have Twitter, and I know you're online, and I know you see some of the absurd things that are passed around online. So I'm not teasing now, and you know that I have to be this bold and sound this sarcastic because this actually takes place online. These things are passed around. All right, so
Right.
great, cleared that up now. Now we can be buddies. So the women that pass through there, not only for extracurricular activities, but band members, even women that are on the crew or whatnot. Did you witness or were you a party to being abused in any way? What can you tell us about abuse?
Yeah. So there were 2 different sexual assaults that I witnessed while I lived with Corey. And I would say that I was also sexually harassed by him quite a lot as well.
Can we know about either one of those in any sort of detail, in any order that you want?
Yeah, sure. So, well, I'll talk about the assaults that I witnessed first. The first one happened while we were on tour, and I don't want to get too specific about any girls' names or anything. I don't want to call out anyone's trauma, like, publicly.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Right. So while we were on tour, there was a night when I was requested to come back to the hotel with them because they were having a party. I had tried to go back to the tour bus because I was really tired and I wanted to go back with the rest of the girls. But he freaked out on me and yelled at me and was like, "No, you have to come to this party and hang out with us at our suite." And so I ended up going back with them, and there was a party with all these girls. A lot of it was, not a big deal while most of the women were there. And then after a while, most everybody had left, and I was with a couple of the girls still and him. And there was a situation where I guess there had been some kind of communication earlier in the day between him and one of the women that he's involved with, that she was going to try anal sex with him, which she had never done before. So it was supposed to be something special for that night. And when it came down to it, when he, asked her to do this for him, she changed her mind. And she was freaked out about the whole thing. She was scared. She was like, no. She very clearly said no, that she didn't want to do that anymore. She had changed her mind. And he started screaming at her. And the other girl that was there started screaming at her that she just needed to shut up and just do it, because she had already said she was going to do it. And it was really, really messed up. And she kept saying no, and she was crying, and like, he just didn't care. He just pushed her down, and he just like forced himself on her.
And again, say whatever you're comfortable with. Is this girl still associated with Mr. Feldman?
Yes.
I see. And have you in any way or has she in any way discussed this with the proper authorities?
No, she has not discussed it with well, I guess I can't say for sure because I did report all the incidents and harassment that I went through to the police, and I did give all of their phone numbers to the Los Angeles Police Department. So, I mean, I guess I assumed that they probably, hopefully did speak with her, but I can only imagine that she wasn't truthful about what had happened, seeing as that she's still involved with him.
But you definitely have a recorded, filed statement with the Los Angeles Police Department.
Yes, I had a criminal investigation opened up against him, which later got closed.
The investigation of what you just stated, given to the LAPD, they opened and then closed the investigation of the information that you just pertaining to the information that you just gave me.
Well, not exactly, because the problem with trying to report this to the police is that the sex crime laws in California don't allow you to file an official police report about a sexual assault that you witnessed. You have to be the victim in order to file a report. So I had to report things that happened to me personally, with me as the victim, in order to even get an investigation opened, which luckily, not luckily, but
right.
I had been sexually harassed by him quite a bit. So there was enough to file, to start to try to file criminal charges, but ultimately I didn't have enough evidence to actually make any kind of charges stick, which would have really just been a slap on the wrist, misdemeanor kind of thing, even if it had happened. My main motivation was really just to get these things on record, but by opening the investigation against him, I was able to speak to the LAPD about everything that had happened and the different assaults that I had witnessed, so now it is all on record in some form.
And to the best of your knowledge, of course, I understand if you weren't privy to this. Did they reach out to the victim?
I was never told anything about that.
Understood.
I wasn't shared that kind of information wasn't shared with me.
No, I understand.
But I did give out everyone's contact information for them to speak with. And I'm told that, the LAPD did speak with a lot of people. I had a lot of people that were part of the tour that reached out to me afterwards and said that they had been interviewed by the police. But I don't know about the victims specifically because I'm not in contact with them anymore. Okay,
so you can't be 100% sure or even 1% sure that the victim was notified or contacted, interviewed, but there are other angels, if you will, other ex-bandmates, other ex-employees that were interviewed pertaining to the crime that you just witnessed, that you just alleged took place.
Yes. Well, they were interviewed about. They probably could have only been interviewed about the sexual battery case pertaining to me. I would assume for legal reasons.
Okay.
And no one else really was witness to that incident other than Corey and the girls that were involved and myself.
Understood. I want to get to yours specifically, as in as much detail as you want to get into, but I want to stop for a second because we all know first of all, there are going to be the devil's advocates out there, and then of course there is going to be the biggest adversary, who will come out and say that there is a motive, that there is a bold-faced lie taking place here, to destroy him, to discredit him, and whatnot. What exactly is your motivation to come out and say this? Why don't you just tell everybody exactly why are you even stating this? Why are you telling us this now?
Sure. Well, my only motivation here is that I feel that I have a moral obligation to warn other women that might, find themselves involved with Corey. And I wouldn't feel right if I didn't do everything that I can to make sure that people know what's really going on in that house and with the company Corey's Angels. And I mean, that's really it. That's what it comes down to is I don't want to see any more women get abused. And I mean, I also would like to see the public support that he's receiving to be removed so that he can't continue to abuse the women that he is abusing.
Now, how long, let me kind of interject this. How long were you still with him, employed by him, working with him after that incident took place? Approximately.
I quit immediately after my contract was up. And for that tour.
And that was approximately.
So that incident happened mid-July, and my contract was over in mid-August. August 15th was the last day, and I left. I had already booked another tour for myself immediately after that tour, so I left right away after my contract was up.
Now, again, devil's advocate, because I am starting to get into the minds of what the naysayers and the Feld fam and the blindly supportive people come out and say. And that one of the things is going to be, if you witness such a horrible event, why didn't you just leave right then and there? Let me have you address that immediately.
That's a great question, and it's something I think about a lot because in general, I feel really guilty about a lot of things that I looked the other way about while I was living there and while I was working for him. And I justified a lot of things to myself by telling myself that none of it was, none of the worst things were happening to me specifically. But, that's no excuse, and it really did kind of take me a while to really even process what I had been through. With all of that, it was really a difficult thing for me, and even for the girl in question, I remember after that had happened, talking with her, and her telling me this story about in her past someone had assaulted her. And I remember kind of thinking, like, why is she telling me this? Because it's hard to explain, but I was so used to the way that he treated those women that it really didn't seem that out of the ordinary for that to happen, even though that probably sounds really messed up. But I was so used to the way that he abused these women, and they were so controlled by him in so many ways already in their lives. Like, it really took a while for me to really process the fact that I had witnessed an actual rape, and to really wrap my own head around that. And I think for her too, because she was telling me a story afterwards about someone else entirely that raped her, but she wasn't acknowledging the fact that she had literally just been raped herself. It wasn't something we even talked about. But obviously there was a reason she brought it up, because she was having, flashbacks based on what he had just done to her.
I want to step out of interviewer mode and sort of back into just making videos and giving my commentary and whatnot. I never really addressed any of the comments in the other interviewers' videos, especially the Margot Lane one, where they came out and said, why did you stay that long? I have no sympathy for this because I would have walked right out of there. I wouldn't have let anybody treat me that way. And let me just stop right there and tell everybody that is going to bullshit me and yourself into thinking that you know exactly what you would do in a traumatic situation, because I've got really bad news for everybody listening. You have no effing clue what you would do in a traumatic situation. Absolutely no effing clue. There are so many people that can come out there. Someone treated me like that, I'd be right out. Bullshit.
Yeah.
That's why there are millions and millions and tens of millions of people that get abused every day, every week, every damn year, that don't get themselves right out of it. You can BS me and yourself all you want, that you have all the answers and you would do the right thing right then and there, but you're lying to yourself. And chances are you have probably been through that too, to some degree. Maybe someone stole money from you, broke into your car, cheated on you or something like that. You're full of crap if you're going to put comments on the video saying, she's full of crap, I would have left, she's lying. Well, whatever. You can BS me, Feldman can BS everybody. If you have a brain in your head, you're not going to be BS'd. So, Jackie, back to interviewer mode.
Another point that I feel like I should make about that is that any time that I was witness to their sex parties, I was always under the influence of drugs, which were drugs that I never used prior to meeting him, and never used for the most part of living with him. The only times that I ever did were when these sex parties were happening when I was there. So I was also really not in like my normal mental state. He had me doing MDMA and ketamine, which is a tranquilizer. So I wasn't exactly in my right state of mind either when any of this was happening.
I want to be very clear for the record. Did Corey Scott Feldman supply you with drugs?
Yes.
I want to stop right now for a second and say that Mr. Feldman, your representatives, your management, your attorneys are completely welcome to give an official statement about anything said in this video or anything else. You have the right, the legal right, to give any rebut to anything said. So that being said, just wanted to be fair again, that everybody will get a chance to defend themselves and make a statement. But now, for the record, you have stated that this individual has given you drugs, and that this individual, and let's not mince words here, I'm not putting words in Jackie's mouth. Correct me if I'm wrong again, Jackie, but you witnessed Mr. Corey Scott Feldman raping a human being, raping a female. Correct or incorrect, yeah. Jackie?
Correct.
Okay. Now, I'm shaking a little bit. My blood's boiling, but we're going to get back to, I guess, whatever other details that you want to discuss about your actual bouts with sexual harassment or abuse toward you.
Towards me?
Yes.
Okay. So I would say that when I first moved in, it got pretty weird pretty fast. The first night that I was there, we were all hanging out in his room, and I remember him saying something about how he's like, "Oh, we're gonna take a bubble bath." I assumed he meant him and his wife, obviously, because I wasn't interested in that, and I had just met these people a couple days before, so I didn't think that he was inviting me. But he left the room. He started running a bath, and he's like, "Okay, let's go. Let's get in the bath." And I'm just confused. Like, no one ever asked me if I wanted to take a bubble bath with them, and it seemed really strange to me. And I just kind of politely was like, no, like, I don't really, feel like taking a bath right now. I was just, like, very put off by the whole thing. And, um, his wife stripped down and, like, got into the bath, and he's like, trying to ask me, are you sure you don't want to join us? It's fine. It's not a big deal. And I'm just like, no, like, I was very casual about it. Just like, no, that's fine. I'm going to go to bed and, I'm tired. I, like, excused myself from the situation. And then the next night, we all went out. It happened to be my birthday that I had just moved out there just a couple days before this. And so I went out with him and his wife and his girlfriend for my birthday, and we were all drinking together, which I guess is not, they said wasn't common for them. They said they actually hadn't drank in 3 years, but for some reason for my birthday they decided that was the occasion that they would do it for us. He'd bought us like a bottle of Bailey's or something, and so we were all drinking and hanging out afterwards. And again, the whole like bathtub thing came up. The girls wanted to take a bubble bath, and they were asking me to join in. And again, I was like, no, that's I wasn't really interested in that. And so he could tell, I think, that I was uncomfortable, and he was like, oh, well, if you just want to take a bath with just the girls, like I could leave, I could go do something else, and you could just, have fun and hang out with the girls and take a bubble bath with them. And I was like, well, okay, sure. I thought that sounded all right. It was really him being involved with that made me uncomfortable. So he left, and I got into the bath with his wife and his girlfriend, and really not too much time had passed, and he walked right into the room and started taking his clothes off and climbed into the bathtub, even though we had just had a conversation about how I wasn't comfortable with him being there. And I was confused, and after a few minutes of this, I was shocked, and maybe I should have left right away, but I couldn't really understand why this was happening when we had just had a whole conversation about it. And after a few minutes of him trying to cram himself into this bathtub that was not big enough for 4 people at all, I was like trying to be nice and was just like, I'm tired and I'm gonna go to bed. And I excused myself and left the room. And so there were things like that right off the bat where my boundaries were getting pushed. And earlier that night, they had made an offer. They basically told me that, they had explained their whole like polyamorous situation to me and said that, anytime that I wanted to join in on it, I was more than welcome. But he did say initially, he's like, you're not required to be involved with me like that, or he's like, it's not going to affect your job. You're not going to get fired if you do or if you don't sleep with me, basically. And I just explained to them that wasn't what I was interested in at all. And I tried to be nice about it, but I basically just told them that wasn't my kind of lifestyle. I wasn't interested in any of that. And it seemed like that was fine, and that they didn't seem to have any kind of a problem with it. And they're like, okay, thanks for being honest. And that was kind of it. But over the course of me living there, it was like my boundaries kind of consistently would get pushed, and he would, around the house or on tour, there was times that he would like grab at me, like grab my ass or different things, or he told me that I wasn't allowed to wear bras around the house and stupid shit like that. And it kind of just went on like that. And it wasn't until the main summer tour had started and we all played in Las Vegas. Actually, I should back up because there was another story that happened a lot sooner to when I had first joined the band. We went out for his wife's birthday, and there was this whole kind of debacle of him getting into the club. I think I kind of told you this story. So it was the same night. And he was trying to get into this club, and they didn't know who he was. He was trying to basically just get in for free, even though it was like an event that you needed tickets for, and he just was confused. He's like, I'm Corey Feldman, like, why aren't you just letting me in the door? They didn't know who he was, and so I think his ego was a bit bruised up by that, and especially after he walked in the door and everyone started cheering for him because they thought he was Skrillex. I think his ego was a little bit shaken up, and immediately after that, he brought all of us, me and his wife and his girlfriend, out onto the floor, and he started, I think, trying to, make himself look cool. He started, making out with his wife, publicly in the middle of the dance floor, and then he starts making out with his girlfriend, and then he turns to me like he's about to make out with me, and I'm just like, what the fuck? And I kind of, turned my cheek, like, here, like, you can kiss me on the cheek. Like, that's fine. I was trying to be nice, and what he did instead is he grabbed my face pretty violently and forced his mouth onto mine at this nightclub in front of all these people. It was really, really fucked up, and I kind of, I struggled to get away from him, and he kind of let me go, and it was weird, and it never really got acknowledged, but later that night, too, I was overhearing him, talking to other girls, and, he kept referring to me as his girlfriend, and, Courtney corrected him at one point with one of the girls, was like, oh, she's our friend, and she's our bandmate, and he got, actually pissed off at her and was like, she's our girlfriend. It was really strange, and I didn't really understand what was going on, if he really was that delusional that he, or, he just was that set on trying to make himself look like he had these 3 women that were all into him or whatever. So there were things like that happened early on. But then when we started touring, we were playing in Vegas, and then we had tickets to go see Roger Waters in Oakland, the next day. So we drove out, and I guess another thing I'll mention is driving there was probably one of the most terrifying things I've ever been through in my life, because we were going to be late, and he was basically driving 100 miles an hour, the entire time, swerving around traffic and actually driving on the shoulder to get past the traffic to try to get us to this concert on time. So, all the while, smoking a bowl while he's driving and shit like that, texting. So I feel like that's relevant based on his whole drug busting that happened. He was trying to claim that him getting pulled over was some kind of a setup, but I can tell you myself that he is the most terrifying person in the world to be a passenger in a car with. But moving on, so we drove out to Oakland, and at this point I had never used drugs with them, like the Molly, MDMA, ketamine, all that stuff that they like. I'd always declined, but this night he had gotten us tickets for Roger Waters and backstage passes, and he was really, really, really adamant that I use Molly with them. And so I agreed to it. I let him give me a little bit in some, a water bottle or something, and so this was my first time really using this drug. And
could you explain
we went to this concert, which was great, and afterwards, I didn't know what the arrangements were going to be. Nobody had really told me what was going on. I was under the assumption that we were driving back to LA after this concert, and then he told me that they were getting a hotel. And at first I was like, oh, wow, that's really nice. He's going to get me my own hotel room for the night. Because he's usually very cheap about things. I was really surprised by it, that he would get a hotel, just for me. But, silly me, I actually thought that he respected my boundaries enough to know that I wasn't going to want to share a room with them. Because I didn't share a room with them at the house. I always had my own separate bedroom, and I was never, at this point, had never witnessed any of their kind of, sexual parties or any of these things that were going on. And so then I find out that what he really got us for the night was one hotel room with one bed. And, I'm really confused, and I'm also on a bunch of drugs that I've never used before. And we took ketamine as well that night, the tranquilizer. And so basically we're all hanging out in this hotel room, just like partying and whatever. And it almost seemed kind of like it felt very much like they planned this whole thing out, like we're going to basically trap her in a hotel room and give her drugs and then try to, get her to have sex with us. Because there was even like some comments made before we had gotten to the hotel, like Corey and his wife had gone into like a convenience store or something. And his girlfriend started talking to me like, oh, won't it be so fun to, have some fun with Corey and Courtney tonight at the hotel, like trying to like get me excited about it. And it kind of felt like she was implying that I was going to be a part of, their whole situation. And I was kind of just like, yeah, it'll be fun to, hang out. I was kind of confused. It felt really strange. And then when we got to the hotel, it was almost like it seemed very much like it had been planned, but like it's like they put me on one side of him and his wife on the other, and then like his girlfriend on the other side of me, and both at the same time the girls started like grabbing his dick, like literally at the same time, like they had planned it out. And so one of the girls was like reaching over me to like touch him, and they all just start like fooling around, like I'm, I guess I can't say like I'm not there, because then it's like they were trying to involve me with it. And, he like turned, he was kissing them and turned to me trying to kiss me, and I turned my head away, and he was like, I don't understand, like, why don't you want to kiss me? Like, it's not a big deal. It's just affection. Like, I love you. That's it. Like, and, I kind of just explained to him that I was just like, it's not, what I told him was that I was like, I actually ended up telling him that I was a lesbian, because I thought that would be the easiest way to make him, like, just leave me alone completely. So this is what I had started telling him, was that I was like, Corey, I'm like, I'm not really straight, so I'm not into it. I don't want to make out with you, And
Right.
so the night kind of just went on. He didn't press any further for me to like be involved with it, but they all ended up having sex in front of me that night. And then that was kind of like, there was only a few incidents like that. There's 3 different times that I was like watched their parties like that. And so that was the first time. The second time was the incident that I spoke about earlier with the where one of the girls that he was involved with was raped.
Right.
And then the last time was after we came back from tour. We were back in LA. We were at the house, and they were having a party, kind of like a swinger party. There was some couple that they were like old time friends with, some guy and some girl that came to join, so they could have like this little swinger party. And we were all kind of hanging out, and again, like we were using drugs. He, gave us Molly and gave us ketamine, and everything kind of seemed all right at first. I didn't really terribly want to be involved in any of this, but at this point it had already happened a couple times, and it's kind of whatever. And I wasn't involved in any of it. Like personally, I wasn't having sex with anyone, so it at that point it didn't seem like as big of a deal to me. But the problem was that there was this girl that was a part of the couple started getting really, really fucked up. Like they'd given her a bunch of drugs, and he gave me a lot that night too, and I was feeling really sick. But this girl, I think, had done even more than I had, and she was getting really ill. She was really out of it, really messed up, and she kept saying she didn't feel good, and she kept trying to, like, they all wanted to keep having sex, and she really obviously didn't. And so she kept trying to redirect the night to, like, anything else. Like, she never really specifically said no, but she kind of kept, she was like, can we go hot tub, or like, can we do massages? Or she kept trying to like change what was happening to anything other than them having sex, because she really obviously like was really, really not feeling well, like super out of it, just so sick. And their response to this was to just keep telling her, no, you're fine. We just need to do some more, you need to do more drugs. You need to have some more Molly. You need to have some more ketamine. That'll make you feel better. And so they just keep feeding her drugs and continue having sex with her, and nobody seemed to care that she didn't want to be doing any of that and wasn't feeling well. And eventually her boyfriend, like, she just got so ill that her boyfriend eventually, like, dragged her out of the house, but it was not fast enough. Like, it was really fucked up. And it was just a day or two after that my contract was up and I left.
I don't find myself speechless very often, especially when there's a camera rolling or I'm on stage or there's a microphone. But I find myself a little lost for words. Because you can attest to the fact that I did not know what you just said to me. You never talked to me about that stuff. So
No.
I am a little shocked. I guess I have to ask: were there, or are there any other incidents that you can think of that you wanted to describe, talk about, that you witnessed or happened to you?
I think that is basically the extent of it. I mean, those two assaults that I witnessed were like the main, like the worst things that happened over the course of me living there. And with me, it was kind of just a general harassment. And I guess one other thing that I could talk about as far as myself, there was kind of it seems like he kind of was seeking to isolate me in a sense from other people. I kind of touched on it earlier, how he would, like, I overheard him basically referring to me as his girlfriend. So there was a few people that came out of the woodwork after I left that had told me that he was telling people that I was his girlfriend and that I belonged to him, and that basically they needed to stay away from me because I was his property, essentially. So there was just kind of a strange, weird control thing going on with all of that as well. But yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the extent of basically everything that happened.
Jackie, does this have anything to do with, or do you know anything that happened in or around the events of the I guess it was like a somewhat of a litigation or a public court case, something that happened several months ago that had to be addressed publicly, that Mr. Feldman was fighting, some sexual allegation charge or anything like that you know of?
Yes. That was the sexual battery investigation that I had opened against him.
And apparently, could you be specific? It was dropped. It was...
Yeah, the case was closed. They weren't able to actually file charges on him because there were no witnesses within anything that had happened in Los Angeles. There was one incident that had a witness on tour, but they can't prosecute based on something that didn't happen in LA. So that was what the detective had told me, was that, not that they didn't believe me, but that there just wasn't enough evidence. Because really my only witnesses here for any of this are women that are still involved with him.
Of course. Is it the incident, the incident that didn't happen in LA, is that possible to explore in the area that did happen, in the state, in the city that happened?
The thing is that we went so many places that the person that reported it didn't even report a specific location. They just remembered that they had seen him grab me at one of the venues, and that that he could tell that it was not wanted.
I don't suppose that
So
Do you have information on that individual, that witness that maybe, I'd be able to talk to, follow up with, just to get a
you've
statement from
already
them?
spoken with them.
Okay, I got you. Okay.
I'm not sure if it's okay for me to say or not who I'm speaking about.
Then I think I know what you're talking about. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, I believe I know what you're talking about. And I don't know if somehow that's going to be misconstrued as me actually hearing the events of the rape or some of these other allegations, but no, but there are some things obviously that you kind of touched on before we interviewed, and I think I know
Yeah.
what I think I know what you're talking about, but that other stuff was a little bit of a bombshell, even though I can officially state now that I have heard other things from other individuals. They may or may not be related, but what you're saying does not shock me. It shocks me actually hearing you say it, but it doesn't in the same vein. But we'll leave it at that. And if I'm not mistaken, that was the event that had him proudly proclaim that he was able to take the campaign money to fight off your allegations of sexual harassment. That is correct, right?
Yeah.
That was that incident?
That is correct. He publicly stated that he used the campaign money to evade the sexual battery charges.
Well, I want to say as impartially as I possibly can, because I understand that you are alleging these things. He has not been charged with these crimes. I haven't even talked to him about, this, obviously, and he has not given a statement. But in the event that these allegations are true, I hope that this is a wake-up call to individuals that gave to his campaign, that offered him money, continue to give him money, that
Right.
these are the types of things, apparently, and not apparently, these are his own words. These were public statements that he made, that he was very proud and happy that you have all done a great thing. I'm paraphrasing, that you have all done a great thing by helping me thwart these false, horrible lies and allegations toward me. I believe he also stated that he was able to hire a fantastic lawyer to defeat this, and that other, other words of the like. Yeah, I'd really love everybody to, regardless of whether you believe that he did these things or not, I really just want you to stop and think that every time you go to work, you get your paycheck, you give your money to Mr. Feldman, and that money goes into his accounts, and he uses that money for, allegedly, drugs, bringing in women, partying, and for hiring lawyers to fight allegations that Jackie has levied at him, and that he continues to do it, and somehow this is all just ignored. Well, not everybody ignores it, but there are still quite a few people that are ignoring this, even though that he has stated publicly the money was to be given to him in exchange for added security and legal representation for the backlash due to the filming, due to the movie, due to the making of the movie, and the allegations that he would put out and the names that he would name, not to be used, and this is public record. You can watch his videos, you can read transcript of whatever he has said online. None of that was to be used to stop women from coming at him, alleging that he raped or harassed them. You don't need to get on the comment section and say, you're full of it, this is fake, you're lying, do your research. I implore you, everyone who sticks their head in the sand, pull your head out of your ass, go on the internet, do some real research, and see what is happening before your bloody eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jackie, well, I don't feel like making any jokes now. I got to be honest with you. But I do want to say that, for the record, I am sorry on a personal level. I am so sorry that, I heard about this, and you and I have talked. We've messaged. We've never discussed this, especially in this level of detail, and I'm so sorry that this was all there, and I never knew, and I think you're pretty awesome and talented, and I'm really, really super, super sorry, as I am for Margot, as I am for everybody that has talked to me, and enduring this, having to endure this for so long and go through this, because this is going to stick with you, unfortunately. I'm pretty sure, knowing you, you're intelligent, you're talented, you're moving forward, you're moving past this. You are going to move like everybody else. There, you're all going to move past this, hopefully. Unfortunately, for some of the people still there, that may not be an option, and that's something that, well, I can't help. You can't really help. They're the only ones that could help. But damn it, like you said early on in the interview, maybe we can prevent other women from getting hurt or by falling into a trap. And I am not going to say, for, I guess, legal reasons, that you must not, you will not, I will stop you, this, that, and the other thing. But I do implore anybody that is even considering getting involved with another angel tour or to be in Mr. Feldman's employ, that you simply do enough research. God knows it's out there. On my channel alone, there is enough evidence to allow you to make an informed decision. People that are considering donating to him, I'm not going to tell you do not. I'm not going to tell you I'm going to stop you. I'm going to say the same thing to you. Get out there, do the research, watch the other videos, talk to some other people, make an informed decision about where your money is going and who this person is. You don't even have to have the an iota or a scintilla of experience in psychology to see the patterns happening surrounding that individual in this entire scenario and situation. Okay. Jackie, is there anything else you want to say before we kind of wrap things up and close up shop?
I think that pretty much covers it.
I'd say you've said quite a bit. Quite a bit. And if I haven't already thanked you, I profusely thank you for saying these things. And again, for the record, I know that you are not doing this for monetary gain, because you have other endeavors that don't include allegations toward Feldman and these things that he's done. That there is no 15 minutes that you're trying to grab. You have other things, you have other career opportunities that you're pursuing that don't pertain to this. As a matter of fact, it's been quite a struggle for you to even want to come out and say these things, or even want to be involved in getting to this point, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for one, because I had signed all kinds of non-disclosure agreements, but also it's just very hard to talk about any of this in general.
Yeah, I imagine so. And I'd also really like you all to put your thinking caps on and think for just 2 seconds about the nature of an NDA, non-disclosure agreement. I want you to really do your research on what that entails and why someone would keep forcing people to do and sign these things. Just Use
Right.
some
And
common sense.
every single person that goes through his house, I should say, is forced to sign a non-disclosure, even if they're just spending one night there.
Common sense, people. Common sense. When I visited the Playboy Mansion, phones, at least from some of us, phones, recording equipment, things, I had to sign papers, they were confiscated from me while I was in that house. Why? I can't tell you, because I can't say these things. Maybe other people can. They're privileged to say it. I'm not going to risk saying it. You know why? Because trust me, the things I saw can definitely not get out, and they don't want it to get out.
Right.
It's for a reason. Use your head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I've already been threatened with a lawsuit by his lawyers for a lot less than this.
Of course. Of course. Well, Jackie, again, thanks so much. I really, really appreciate it. And I think that I'm just going to give a preemptive thank you from hopefully some people that you will help in the future. And probably also speak for some other people that have already been through this, that thank you for stating this. And let's all get ready for a distraction that will inevitably take place after this is aired to obfuscate what is taking place here and what other people have said. And I don't know. We'll see what else the Sith Lord has to come up with after this. Thanks, Jackie, so much. And thank you for getting that, by the way. Thanks for getting that reference. And folks, again, as always, thanks a lot for taking your time to listen, to watch the videos and everything. And believe me, there are a couple of other things coming up. You're not going to want to miss this. Or them. Thank you.